Am I the a-hole for asking my wife for an hour of private time away from her and kids each day? Some quick context. Happily married for 4 years, 2 kids aged 6 months and 2. Wife is a stay-at-home mum. I work full-time. We split household duties pretty evenly, I do laundry, she cooks, etc. And I help with the kids during the day, WFH due to COVID, and of course after work day is over. No complaints from me. The other day, my wife was chatting with her friends, and I overheard the other wives complaining about their husbands not helping with the children at all. One plays video games 6 hours a day. The other is a sports fanatic. It sort of reminded me that I seriously haven't had more than a handful of moments to myself in the last 3 years since my wife became pregnant with our first. I've given up following all my favorite sports teams, never hang out with anyone anymore. Life just completely consumed with work and domestic life. My friends are all childless, so no help there. Got me thinking maybe I deserved a little downtime. Not much, just enough to recharge. So I gently asked my wife if I could have an hour to myself each day. She flipped out. Said I was selfish. She doesn't get time off, why should I? Called me a sexist for assuming the man could avoid childcare. Preposterous, since I'm doing the exact opposite now. To appease her I just dropped the issue. But feeling kind of bitter. What do other fathers do? Am I the a-hole? Edit. Older kid is at daycare, younger one naps about 4 hours during day. Wife usually watches TV part of this time and does food prep the rest of time. Edit 2. When I said I help out during the day, it might be 10 minutes while wife is pooping, or 45 minutes while she's getting groceries, or 20 minutes to rock the baby if her arms are tired. Not even split, but sort of adds up. Whipped if I straight up told family not to bring up any money issues with me. I work as an actor and had some success. With that success came money. I always lived frugally, so I had plenty of disposable income. Not so much that I can buy a mansion in Beverly Hills, but a decent amount. I helped my family out significantly. My point in helping them was not to become an ATM. I wanted to help them become independent. I had very many lean years. For example, I was forced to choose between flu medicine or bus fare to an audition. I ended up buying the flu medicine and walking 2 miles for the audition in hot weather while sick with the flu. I had a good run and then had some personal issues that derailed me for a couple of years. It took me another year to get on my feet. Money because less available, and all of a sudden my family was nowhere to be found. That really hurt me. After a lot of hustling and hard work, I got a role on a successful show with good ratings. I get praise for my performance. I make good money, but I work my ass off. I was reviewing my financials and didn't understand why I was breaking even at the end of the month. It's because of my family. I help them out so much that I really don't have money for myself. I truly thought I was helping them get through tough times and they would get on their own 2 feet. They are not. They're just living off my money and they appreciate it very little. The more I do, the more they expect. They have never said that I've done enough. I've met people who had the means to help me when I needed it and I never got help. I know how that feels and it sucks. I thought of those people as assholes. But I am not a user. I like to support myself. Last week, I had a fallout with them, so I am not speaking with them. I know they have this pending financial crisis headed their way too. If we reconcile, I want to tell them straight up not to ask me for cash anymore and not to expect it. The stuff I help with are essentials like food and rent. Am I the a-hole for returning my ex-wife's gifts to her? Me 41M and my wife 45F got divorced 2 years ago and we live separately. We have a 16-year-old daughter who lives with me and sees her mom 2 to 3 times a month, even though she doesn't really want to. So our daughter is trans. We found out 3 years ago and she wasn't okay with it. At first she tried to fight it, then distanced herself away. Long story short, that's over now and they don't really have a relationship. They tried a few months ago, but my ex-wife kept introducing her to her co-workers, new friends, new neighbors as her trans kid, even though no one could really tell, and they thought our daughter was transitioning to be a boy when they first heard about it. Our daughter talked to her about it and told her it wasn't necessary, and she blew up on her. They didn't talk for months after that. It was her 16th birthday and her mom came over unexpectedly just as she was opening her gifts. She said she just wanted to wish her happy birthday and give her some gifts, so I let her in. Daughter was still opening my gifts, and one of them was a dress she showed me a few months ago and said she liked. Her mum freaked out over it, saying it wasn't appropriate for a 16-year-old. I honestly can't tell what she had problem with. I don't see anything wrong with it, but maybe I'm wrong and it's really not for a 16-year-old. It was this dress. https://media/3ildo5g0xc0z9mjtzt5k-1z-c3q34 jpg. She finally gave her gift, and it was few flannels and boys' shirts. Our daughter just said thanks and she left shortly after. It has been 2 weeks and she hasn't touched her mum's gifts at all. She's obviously not gonna use them, so I thought I'd return it to her. I dropped it off by her house and left her a message on phone telling her that she wouldn't use those gifts and it'd go to waste by just sitting there. Boy, did she blow up. Apparently we're both ungrateful, disrespectful childs. My brother thinks I was being petty and I could have taken the clothes to local thrift shop or something and she would never find out about it. I honestly didn't do it to be petty. Am I the a-hole for going off on my husband and my mother for not driving me to my surgery? My surgery is tomorrow. It's a kidney thing. I have had a horrible year medically and been in the hospital a lot with a few different major life-altering surgeries. My husband has never been there for me for any of it. He only came for one surgery and it was because I begged him to be there. He was not very supportive at all. He's one of the kinds who has a hard time showing support because he feels helpless. For whatever reason it triggers anger with him. It really upsets me. I needed him there. I was pregnant at the time and literally dying due to septic shock and other health issues. I obviously survived, but now I have a lot of other health problems as a result of what happened. He used up all his paid sick time. It was stupid because his mum flew in to stay with our kids while I was in the hospital. I am a stay-at-home mom and my husband works. So there was no need for him to stay home. He was just staying home, literally hanging out with his mum while I was in the hospital dying. He makes great money. Over 200k/year. He can more than afford to stay home for a day or two here and there while I have surgeries or procedures. Instead, anytime I need a surgery he is just like, "That sucks. I have work that day. You'll have to find a sitter and a ride. We have 5 kids." My mom is very self-centered and narcissistic. I hate having to ask her for favors because it always means she will expect something in return or throw it in my face. I had to ask her to watch my kids and give me a ride to the hospital, 1 hour each way. She agreed to watch my kids but refuses to give me a ride. My husband knows this. They are both cool with me having to drive myself there at 5 a.m., have surgery under anesthesia, wake up, and drive myself home for an hour fresh out of surgery. They told me to just lie to the staff about having a ride. Their reasoning is that I have had a lot of surgeries, so I am used to it by now and it's not a big deal. I blew up on them both. Mostly my husband. I told him that he doesn't give a shit about what happens to me and all he cares about is work. His work is extremely flexible and would give him time off with absolutely no problem. He doesn't want to not get paid for those hours though because he is literally money hungry and greedy. He said I'm an A for getting pissed and I should understand that he needs to work and he can't sit home all the time. My mom says I'm an A for not appreciating her watching the kids while I get my surgery. She actually told me to get a hotel closer to the hospital for the night. My husband went to bed and let our 4-year-old and toddler sleep in there tonight, so I'm also stuck sleeping on the couch. the night before I have to drive myself to my surgery at 4 a.m. He leaves at 3 a.m. for work and won't be back for 3 days. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my mom and husband over this? Am I the a-hole for not letting my children call their step-parent mum? And amp, #X200B. My ex-husband and I divorced well over 5 years ago while I was pregnant. After my son was born, he both got 50-50 custody. I'm on good terms with my ex-husband mostly because he's my child's father. My kid is now. My ex has a wife, and I have a fiancé. I am on perfectly good terms with his wife. My kid has recently gotten into the habit of calling his stepmom mum. I haven't said anything, but I find this extremely disrespectful, for 2 reasons. 1. I don't encourage my kid to call my fiancé dad because I respect his actual father. Instead, I encourage him to call him by his nickname. 2. I have changed his diapers, breastfed him, love him, and so on. Kissing my kid on the cheek/forehead is fine, hugging my kid is fine, but in my opinion, she crossed a huge boundary. I called her and told her I don't feel comfortable with her encouraging my son to call her mom and that I'd like her to stop. She told me to stop being jealous, which I wasn't. I could have stopped it a long time ago, and acted all bitchy. But I didn't. When my son came over, I had a talk with him over him calling his step-parent mum. I told him that it hurts my feelings, and that she isn't his actual mum. He understood. And when his stepmom came to pick him off, he didn't call her mum. Was I the actual TA here? It just doesn't feel right to me to call your step-parent mom/dad when you have a perfectly respectable bio mom/dad. Edit. I'm still not comfortable with him calling his stepmom mum. And I'll continue to say it to my kid. But I've rethought my stance on the situation. And for those of you saying that I'm manipulating my own kid, frick you, that is not at all what I was trying to do, nor did I do that. So please, stop. Am I the a-hole told my friend she shouldn't have gotten pregnant? My friend told me a year ago she was in love with someone she worked with, but he didn't feel the same, and talked about this every time we hung out. I tried hearing her out about how difficult it was to love her husband and another man. Then she got pregnant, by her husband. As soon as she told me she was pregnant, I was genuinely happy for her, as I know she always wanted a family. Her response was irritation, and she said that it's not a good thing because she's still in love with the other guy. She continued to talk about this time and time again when we hung out. A few months ago she was talking about how much she is in love with this other guy and she didn't know what to do. Again, I snapped and said she should have thought of that before getting pregnant. I feel bad for responding that way, but I had enough of hearing about the situation without her doing anything to change it. Am I the a-hole? Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more juicy Reddit relay content.